Welcome to Earth Radiance TV. I'm your host, Tammie Pike, and I'm so honoured to have you on this journey of self-love and self-discovery with me. I have created Earth Radiance TV as a remedy to combat women feeling alone in life, love, family, and business. Within this series, I will be interviewing women who are going against the normalcy of society and are living, loving, mothering, and doing business their own unique way. So get comfortable and give yourself permission to be inspired by the wisdom, love, learnings, and truth of each woman as she unfolds her journey with you. Welcome, beautiful, to Earth Radiance, a place for you to be real, be wild, and be you. So welcome everyone to Earth Radiance TV. And here we have another episode connecting with a woman who is truly following her soul's path, helping women and being of service in such a big way. Claire, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Tammie. It's an honour and a pleasure.
Wonderful. So a little bit about Claire.
Prior to motherhood, Claire worked in marketing, events, and the corporate world. But since 2010, life has changed immensely for Claire. 3 daughters, 3 bouts of postnatal depression, and a major spiritual awakening. Years of counselling and therapy and a few tattoos later, her life is now lived with much, I can totally relate to that, with much more consciousness and activity. The birth of her first daughter, her mental health journey, her spiritual cracking open, and her subsequent yearning for more meaning led her to explore meditation, essential oils, reiki, circle of security, spiritual retreats, women's circles, and other ideas and schools of thoughts, which was so pivotal to healing and redesigning her life. She is now passionate about slowing life down, about infusing more meaning into the everyday by creating rituals about living with joy and supporting others to do this too. 3 years ago, Claire founded the Zim Zum Motherhood to connect women who are craving connection, community, and conversations around soulful ideas. She runs a monthly sacred women's circle as well as preparing bespoke rituals for women.
Mm-hmm. Claire, in that is amazing, especially since your awakening, I guess, in that you have been able to work through your own life lessons and your own past journeys to be able to actually now create a business to support others and spaces to hold space for other women to do their own transformational work. Absolutely. So what I would love for you to share is how did you, I know we can what I just shared, but what actually really wanted you to help others during that and going on that journey?
I think, I hear so many women saying this, is that my work is for myself 7-8 years ago. This woman who had kind of come out of the corporate world and was used to doing and being busy and having KPIs and measuring success on those kind of structures. And suddenly motherhood and being alone, just me and a baby and a lot of silence and, energetically and, hormonally, just having nothing to kind of there. And people, I don't know, I kind of went to mother's group and other people didn't seem to be having these thoughts and wonderings. And I'd go to the playground and we were talking about, is your baby sleeping for 43 or 44 minutes, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I can't go back, but this isn't working either. What am I looking for? I did not know if it had a name or, and so that's what I hope that my vision is, to help that mum back there. And now I can kind of feel even more so going forward with Zim Zum is that woman kind of a year before that, a couple of years before that, because I don't know about you, but I wish so much. I would love to go back and hand myself these questions before kids came along, when I had maybe a bit more energy and space. So kind of helping women with that as well.
Yeah, because it's all about, we know
how, looking back, if we had been a bit more prepared, a bit more open, the journey of motherhood wouldn't have been so hard.
Yeah.
And yet our journey also was our awakening, wasn't it? Like
Exactly.
for me, it was that space. And I, for myself, I suppose, because I'm doing the work I'm doing because I experienced what I experienced. But it's always trying to make your presence felt by those who are needing you before they actually get to the point that we have experienced, so they don't feel alone. Or if they aren't able to cope with it like, you know, other women can, or, you know, not that we want them to cope, but being able to actually, you know, be empowered in those situations and things like that. Because motherhood, I've found, is like, I have had the corporate job. I've done, you know, 40, 60 hours a week, but nothing has ever compared emotionally, mentally, and physically to becoming a mum.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think what you said there, it's so true. It's that paradox of, I wish I could go back and kind of give myself these things, but it's not until motherhood that I was cracked open. So I don't wish it away, but I can sense that there's another way, like you said, to kind of go back for as we go forward. Yeah,
definitely. And so with your journey, you've been in business for a while now, and how are you finding being a mom and as well as an entrepreneur? How are you finding that balancing of that life? Because for me, I know it gets very messy a lot of the times. It gets very difficult in finding balance, especially because I'm so passionate in what I do, and I know you're exactly the same, being so passionate in what you're doing. So then finding that balance between motherhood, business, you know, relationship, friendships, all that kind of stuff. So what's been your experience?
It's a constant tightrope, isn't it? That kind of 2 forward, 1 back. And I don't know, what comes to me is 2 things. I've got 3 little girls, so they're almost 8, almost 6, almost 3. And Lulu, my youngest, often will say to me, "Not another call, Mum. You're not going to Circle again. Stay home." And, you know, like, heart kind of, and you know, that's hard, you know, but I also have this strong sense that what I do for myself, I also do for them, that I can show them how I live with courage and from my heart and doing something which I'm so passionate about. And like you said, I think it's maybe a I mean, of course they're a blessing, but that they do bring me down to earth, because otherwise I could work 24/7 in my business. But then the beautiful flip on that was yesterday. I was at school, and Audrey, my middle daughter, has just started at primary school. And so they've just done 100 days of primary school, and the hatch right, when I'm 100, I want to. And hers said, when I'm 100, I want to own an essential oil shop on Danga Island in the boat shed. And I was just like, my work here is done. So that made me realize how deeply my work ripples to them. And that felt like this very poignant kind of juicy moment.
Yeah, because you're really role modeling, like we're role modeling a new way of being, especially for women that are mothers, I should say, who have felt that they have to be, you know, a certain way, do, you know, all the housework, be the best mum, be the best everything. And actually, you know, we try to do that, but in doing so we lose ourselves. And in doing that too, we're teaching our children the way that to live is by sacrificing yourself for others. And that's not it. That's not how we need to be role modeling or living our lives, is it?
Absolutely. 100% agree. And when I'm actually just talking to my mother-in-law this morning, when Nina, my first, she didn't start kindy until she was 3. So after I had her, I didn't go back to work. So I had a 3-year-old and I had a 1-year-old at home full time. And I said to this morning, I was like, no wonder I fell into depression, you know, like that is seriously, you know, it's not only the physicalness. I think for me, having kids has been that emotional and that energetic tie to them. And, you know, like our beautiful kinesiologist says, I can treat them until they're 7 without seeing them, just through you. And you're like, I'm carrying that times 3. Like, when she said that to me, I was just like, that explains so much, that, you know, that a piece of me is literally out in the world times 3. But I think it's it's that real thing of, you know, our work. It really is a form of self-care, you know, and because it is this juicy, courageous, like filling up work, that truly, like, soul contract, you know, big stuff. And so this is what we're showing to our kids, and, you know, like, that we don't have to work 80 hours a week, that we can do this, that it's important to feel joy and then feel into what needs to happen that day, but also that it's important to show up every day. You know, it's that beautiful balance. And I'm just starting to find that now, so I've got my 2 eldest at school, and then Lulu goes to kindy 3 days a week, and then we have 2 days a week, just us. And that just feels beautiful. That feels like a really, on those 2 days, I can just dive into her and me. And I think knowing that she's my baby and my last, you know, I can really enjoy that. And then I don't know about you, but I find school holidays, it all kind of, it's still something I'm very much navigating and getting hold of. But I find it really important in school holidays to go, girls, you're going to camp, you know, some kind of day camp a couple of times. We'll have a day just us, and then we'll have all of us together. So that's been kind of, you know, having to really mark my boundaries and say, I'm worth this, my business. And again, that's just coming back to that kind of that sovereignty, and, you know, that boundary and that devotion to myself and to my business. And I know that I'm a better person, a better mum when I'm doing that than if I say, let's have 2 weeks, just all of us together.
But we think we have to take it all, do everything. And especially, you know, we homeschool, and people go, how can you homeschool and do this? It's because I have my time. I have 3 days a week where this is my soul time. I either, you know, I'm working or I'm doing something that I really love doing. And this is what creates boundaries. This is what creates balance. And this is what creates my joy. And it isn't the same for everyone else, but I don't judge anyone else. I don't say it needs to be this way. We all are so unique in what works for us and what doesn't. But what I think is so important for mothers is to truly be honest and for themselves, rather than looking out and saying, how do others perceive me? How do others judge me? And go, how does it feel for me? How do I want this to look for me and my family? Because as soon as we honor that in ourselves and in our lives start changing. We become empowered, and we actually truly start living the life that we want, rather than living it for other people. Especially, you know, we as humans, it's funny. I work with a woman, and, you know, she got so affected by a stranger's judgment of her. This person who had nothing to do with her life, no impact whatsoever, never seen it again. But that one comment rocked her to the core, and was actually hindering in her choices later on. But this is where we need to stop that hearing of approval, especially in the societal standards of what is acceptable, isn't it?
Totally, absolutely. And I think, like, for me, I remember kind of in the early days of motherhood, realizing, it sounds silly now, but I didn't even realize I got a choice in how I did this. You know, I didn't realize how much I'd inherited, and I was just assuming. I remember a beautiful acupuncturist of mine, she kind of said, oh, we choose to do 2 presents at Christmas or something, just little like that. And I was like, no, Christmas, like, you're 1,000 presents, like, that's how Christmas works. But to just go, oh, wow, I can think about this and feel into that and make a new decision. Like, that felt amazing. And I think, I really believe it's something we don't kind of realize. It's quite a superpower, I think, to just, and to stop. And I remember, like, for years of counseling, you'd be like, well, what do you value? And I'd be like, I don't know. I could not tell you what I valued. You know, you'd be like, well, family, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, no, like you said, it's how it feels to you. There's an expansion here. It's, someone kind of finally said to me, does it fill you with joy or fear? And that's all you need to know. You know, like, make joy your true north. Just keep heading towards that joy, you know, and that's all you need to know. And I think with parenting, like, every little thing, you know, it can be like, do I want to, you know, right from the start, do I want to breastfeed or bottle feed? I don't know. Tune in. How's that feeling? Like, your body will tell you. Do I want my kids in my bed or not? Or, you know, every single thing. And to be led by that rather than that's how my mum did it or that's how everyone else is doing it. And I think one of the other things I was talking to someone about the other day was, as mums, we want to get it right. We want to, like, our kids are our greatest investment and legacy. And so we want to make sure we're doing the right thing for them. And so we kind of feel so invested in them. I feel like that's where we can get so judgy, and we have to be we get so blinkered on, like, this is the right way, because if I'm questioning that, then I'm questioning how I'm raising my kids, and that's deeply uncomfortable. Rather than to say, like, oh, that works for you and this works for me. Actually, maybe this works for my first child and something else is going to work for my second child. You know, like, yeah, that coming into the body stuff.
That is so aligned with you and what you do, because that's the thing that I've been implementing for years. And I remember when I was working with Intuitive Coach, he goes, it was all about choice. That's the thing. We really don't believe we have a choice until we become empowered enough to start exploring this. Yes, I do. And then actually joy can be my true north. Joy can lead me to my success, which my success is defined by a feeling rather than my bank account, you know, like, and really redefining all of this. And like, everything is saying, like, yes. And it's so beautiful to bring up, because as soon as I say to anyone, joy can be your compass, they have the same reaction to what I did. Was, that's a load of berry, you know, you're hippie, whatever they want to label that. But it's true. Like, we have forgotten that joy, we can live a life of joy. We can live and learn through lessons of joy rather than pain and hardship.
Yeah.
But it's reprogramming ourselves to seek that, to actually experiment with what is our joy, what feels good for us. And this is where our intuition really kicks in. This is where we start focusing on growing that. And I love how you also said in there that, you know, joy, you know, it can just lead us to the life that we've never really explored, because we were, you know, doing life how our mothers or our grandmothers or society is telling us to do. So I would love to expand on that too as well, in that, or explore with you more, joy for our self-care, because this is huge. And you, I looked into your and what you do, and you are all about helping women find more self-care in their lives. And isn't it interesting that most women and most mothers find that self-love for themselves or self-care is a chore, like it's hard work. Yet for anyone else, they can do anything like that, but for themselves, it's a chore and it's hard and it's unjoyful. Can you expand on that for your experience with women?
Yes, absolutely. And it's not just any woman I experience that for. I was like, my first year of having a baby, my mum, my mother-in-law, my husband, my counsellor, they'd be like, I'm going to take the baby, you go and do something for you. And I have diaries full of just like screaming and saying, I hate spending time by myself. I don't know what I like to do. I couldn't even articulate at that time, but I look back and I was so out of touch. I was so disconnected from myself. that I literally didn't know what to do. And I was like, I don't want to go to get a massage. I can't afford that. I'd be like, what I would end up doing more often than not was going to the mall, walking around, going into shops, going, do I shop in Sports Girl or Suzanne? Where do I shop now? And get, my body was different and going like, and I'd come home furious, like these big, that you can look back now and it was this kind of soul screaming of just sit and be, and all the stuff that we now know. But I did not know A, what I liked, or B, what self-care was, and so now I find what I feel is just called it's I feel like I am here in this life to gather women and to reconnect them to themselves and to each other and just to bigger sacred things. But that is really about self-care, and it's about here's my coffee this morning. Before I drink that, I say a blessing on it, and then I accept the gratitude of this beautiful warm cup of liquid, and then drink it and say an affirmation as I do that. And that's self-care. And people are like, what? That was self-care. And you're like, yes. Every time you drink, say an affirmation. Just I invite gratitude into my day today. Every time you drink, you're going to drink 6 liters of water or whatever a day. Let's every little piece of our day, we can just infuse with love and joy. And, then we're infusing our body and our soul, emotionally, but also like molecularly. This is going into us, and we begin to swell with joy. And as we kind of lift that vibe, then we're attracting more stuff in. And our kids see that we start the day by going and jumping in the ocean. That's how a work day starts, not at 7 a.m. getting into the office. So yeah.
So with this, I guess, when you are at that space of not knowing what to do or how to do it, because there's going to be so many women watching this, especially, what advice would you give to them that you've learned to, like, I know you said with gratitude and your coffee, but even before that, like, it's just awareness, isn't it, and allowing those feelings to come up. But what do you usually recommend for women who are experiencing that?
That's a great question, and 2 things come to mind for me. I'll say 3. The first is curiosity. For me, curiosity was a game changer. And it was, I don't know if you remember that old ad for like Melbourne, and it was a woman following that huge bowl of red string through the streets of Melbourne. And for me, that was just to be like, I've always wanted to read that book. I've always wanted to go into that shop, and just following those tiny things. That person keeps showing up on my Facebook feed. Just clicking, just following that next little thing, and just being open to where that will take me. That was a big one, to kind of go, actually something inside me knows what it's interested in. I don't have to know it here, but just to follow that. Creativity was a big one for me. I would have told you I was not creative at all. And so, but I think having kids, like, that invitation comes through so much. And so I said, okay, guys, we're going to do 10 minutes of painting a day. And the kids are like, that's amazing. Mum says we can paint, And then just to sit and not be perfect about it, but just to see what came out. That was kind of got juices going. And then and then kind of really going into just some really basic ones like breathing, sleeping, drinking water, and then gratitude. There's that just as we start to notice, our circle on Sunday was around gratitude, and you know, as we start to notice all the things in our life, and just the little things, the sun on your shoulders, a roof over our heads, have a new day, you know, it's that beautiful noticing, love, appreciation, just beautiful sweet spot. And I think when we do that, we start to see that life is a series of blessings, and to notice that, like, that's self-care. To notice how beautiful our life is already. I can't think of a better type of self-care actually than just that simple action. So to start the day, to set that intention for the day, just, I am blessed to have another day. And then at night, you know, to either write it or think it, just think, and then to marinate in that for the next however many hours. Yeah.
Delicious. That's so divine. And I guess too, like from everything you said, it's just so supportive and nourishing to a woman to just explore this and experiment too, and just take her time very gently through this, especially with her feelings. If it's the first time that she's ever actually acknowledged her feelings, rather than being in that trying to suppress them down, you know, being too much, too emotional, too whatever. Instead of being like that, having that kindness and compassion to go, how is it that I'm feeling today? What is it that I need to support me through this?
Yes.
But what I'd love to really explore even further with you, because you've taken the connection to women to a sacred space. And for women who haven't yet delved into rituals, sacredness, reverence within their life, I would love to ask, what called you to start doing more of this within your life, to actually take it from self-care to that sacred space, to creating circles, to wanting that and creating rituals for other women?
I'd love to have a really deep answer, but I actually always kind of say at Circle, I am grateful to you all for being here, but actually this is for me. You know, like I just top up on the goodness of this, and so I hold this space for you all. But I don't want to say I feel guilty or I feel selfish, but I feel deep gratitude that I get to receive as much as I give in these ways, you know, when I do this. But it was really just, it was that I'd wanted something like this and didn't know that it existed. I remember reading The Red Tent for the first time and being like, oh, wow. Like, you know, that deep, like, craving that kind of, and you're like, whoa. And then when Lula was really little one night, I was up feeding in the middle of the night on my phone, as you do, and I booked myself a retreat for a year's time, you know, because that's what you do at 2 a.m. when you're up. You're like, I deserve a retreat. That's what I'll do. And so I went on that, and there was about 7 of us, and it was 4 or 5 days up in Byron, and it was like nothing I'd ever done before. And when I was there, I didn't even realize it was an intention at that time, but I was like, I want this in my life, this sisterhood, that feeling of just, you know, like deep love and deep support, and like rising together rather than any kind of competitiveness or any kind of not understanding, or I don't know, it just felt like this kind of new way of experiencing women. And so I remember thinking, I want this in my life. And then now I can look back and be like, oh, since that time, it's rolled out in many ways, you know. That was like early on in the kids being at school. And so now I have that in them, but also in my circles and in my work. And yeah, so it's amazing what we intend does happen.
Yeah, and that you were able to bring that sacredness into your life by you providing it as well, you know, really creating your own medicine, like you said. And I think this is real when you get into the true women's work, it is that giving and receiving. So even though you're providing a service, you're getting something back rather than it just being me, give.
Yes.
It's just such a feminine energy of that flow of that giving to others as they give back to you, and finding that balance. And I think that's when we get to truly be fulfilled, is when we find that kind of work for us in whatever way that looks. It might not be women's circles, but it's in these other areas. And I think for women too, it's very, very important for them to own their worth in doing this work. Because unfortunately we do live, not unfortunately, but we live in a world where, you know, we do have to support ourselves and all that kind of stuff with what we do. But it's looking at a different way, isn't it? In that when we provide a service, whether it's monetary exchange or, you know, energetic exchange, whatever it is, we need to sort of really own up and say this is worth this, or I'm worth this, and really stand up and be really present in who we are, so we can serve more. Does that resonate with you?
It resonates. It challenges. It's, you know, it was also I was shocked as I kind of came into the spiritual world to when money both stopped being what everything was about, but also stopped being a dirty word. It just became this, like, you know, I love that. As I heard about it being an energetic exchange, that suddenly kind of the cogs, I was like, again, there's a different way of looking at this. So yeah, that was, and I would say that's still an evolving piece for me.
I want to ask this. Do you find that it was easy to make money out in the normal world? Because I know for me, like, I was earning really good money, all that kind of stuff. But then as I went to my spiritual side and it was a service coming from me, it was so much more difficult to be able to charge someone and not give myself freely, because I couldn't, I was still in that space where I still fully didn't understand my worth or value my wisdom or what I was sharing with the world. And it has been something, again, that I'm still always evolving with. Is it too expensive? Am I, you know, what am I doing? I don't want to charge, but I know I need that energy exchange to feel fulfilled, being able to provide this and give back to my family. So it's that ever evolving thing, isn't it?
Totally. And I think it's that thing as well that you said a while ago, that, you know, we've seen our mums and our grandmas, you know, give. And so, you know, there's some kind of value, I think, around, you know, martyrdom as well. And, you know, that, like, giving, and, you know, I found it hard to kind of come into, how can I be spiritual but need money? And, you know, am I being greedy in wanting money in order to provide, you know, to be of service? And, you know, there's a lot of kind of paradoxes, and, you know, but I think this is part of the beautiful shift and that paradigm. And that, you know, I loved it when people started to kind of ask some interesting questions to me, like, well, okay, so when you're earning this much money, how are you going to spend that? And, you know, to say, oh, well, I can't wait to be able to donate to these charities, you know, on a really regular basis. And I can't wait to only buy handmade clothes. And I can't wait to, you know, see something on a crowdfunding that I just believe in and say, yep, here's 10 grand, you know. And I think for me, having those kind of end goals is helping me to learn to value myself as well. You know, it's kind of, sometimes it's, I found that I need to, in order to get out of my own way, kind of widen step back from the stage a bit.
It's so amazing in our evolution as a woman. And I think especially in this day and age where women are struggling, I don't want to say all women, like we're coming into ourselves, and that is hard because it's like we're awakening. We're finally all, the collective is awakening to her power and her wisdom and her knowledge that has been passed through generations, and letting go of the old conditioning and coming into her true self. And you can see it in the rising of women holding, you know, sacred spaces and bringing more ritual and reverence into their lives, because this is truly how we fully embody our power, is that sacredness, is that reverence for self and the self-love and self-care, and to fully choose yourself every day in a way that is to fill you up so you can be of more service in a more fulfilling way to others.
Totally.
Do you feel that?
Yes, absolutely. And I love what you said there about, like, it is this kind of, these old ways are coming through, but we're also letting go of old bits as well. And so it's this kind of interesting meeting of that. And, you know, there's, I don't know if you've Rupi Kaur, one of her poems, and she says, like, all my ancestors are sitting up and they're watching me and they're just laughing at all the opportunities that are there. And she's like, I'm so hungry for it because I eat on behalf of all of them. And, you know, that really resonates with me. Like, we do this on behalf of all the women who have gone before us. And, you know, where are our daughters and their daughters going, you know, like, for this to be their normal, what can they then stretch into? Pretty exciting.
Goosebumps. I've got goosebumps. It's so true. And when we feel that it's too hard or we want to give up, we just have to believe that taking one step in front of the other, keep choosing the joy, keep choosing yourself in a way that is of service to you and to the world. You will know, you'll never fail. You'll always learn and grow, but you'll always keep growing. And even though in those darkest times, you know, because I know on and off over this journey of awakening and owning a business and being a mum and all that, there's been so many times where I've had to experience the dark times for me to be able to see the light, for me to be able to let go of everything that no longer serves me, because I've had like 30-something years of this old way of being that I've got to release, and it can't happen like that. It happens by choosing every day and choosing your thoughts, choosing your words, choosing your actions. And I feel that is a really important way to empower yourself, to create your joy, to let it be your north, like you said, and to really live a truthful, embodied life that you know you deserve to live.
Totally. And something, as you're saying, that comes up, Tammie, is that, and you kind of touched on it before, is that not every day looks the same. And this again was a game changer for me, to look at our monthly cycles, the cycles of the moon, the cycles of the universe, you know, that it's so important to tune in before we work out, like, oh, today I really need to calm, or today I need to energize, or today I just need to path of least resistance, or today I'm ready to take on the world. And, you know, like, to honor that in how we go forward. You know, I was so used to just being like, success is KPI, these three things, you know, if I've been for a run, if I've done this, but some days that's just not possible, and that's going to make you feel shit. But other days, that is exactly what you need. And so while it's every day showing up, it's that tuning in, it's that connecting to work out, and what do I need today? And in any moment to be like, oh, you know, like, as we start, you know, like, just like the Chinese kind of traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic, and, you know, to look at in a day, there are so many cycles, and, you know, just like the universal energies every 2 to 3 days, yin to yang. And, you know, like, you don't even need to understand it all, but just to know nothing is the same. and to work with that, I think that was the key, to work with it rather than against it was a beautiful kind of, honouring and allowing and just kind of surrendering to it rather than fighting all the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is what being a woman is being feeling, is being intuitive, is being in flow, which means, like, if we take it to analogy, like the river, you know what I mean? It has all different turns and spaces, and it, you know, it's a new tree that falls down, and it still will run its course, but it might be redirected in a different way, but it's still so able to create its path by allowing that flow to keep happening. And it's like, if our day something happens, you know, being compassionate to ourselves and going, okay, I acknowledge that, but I'm still going to allow flow into my life, and, you know, not be hard on myself. And today is different to yesterday because I am different to who I was yesterday. And linear, this is like, this is your life, this is what you need to do, this is your goals, this is your daily schedule, blah, blah, blah. We can have a schedule, yes. I think we definitely need to have some sort of structure, fun, freedom within that structure to rest back so we can find that flow a lot more easier.
Totally. And I think that as we let joy be that river rather than, you know, something that was said at the beginning of the year, or some woman or man, you know, somewhere else has set for us, it just kind of makes sense, doesn't it? And like I for a long time didn't even understand or just believe in or have any kind of awareness of, say, the moon cycles. And I was like, whatever. But like every day the moon moves the oceans. Scientific.
Yes.
It moves the oceans. We are made up of, like, you know, so much water. It's going to have an effect. You know, it's scientific. It's not anything kind of woo-woo or something that you have to believe in. It's a fact. And so by starting to work with that, you know, it's, and then we find, actually, as we know, you know, the world, Mother Nature, is so perfectly balanced. And so as we can start to bring what the earth is teaching us, those rhythms, then we find, oh, there's a time for going out, and there's a time for coming in, there's a time for sleeping, and there's a time for ideas. And we find, as we kind of get into that, you know, that we burn out less because everything has a place, you know, in each day, in each week, in each month. So yeah. And again, it's just that, you know, and these are kind of things that people may not think of as self-care, but as you get into them, you're like, it's ultimate self-care, isn't it? You know, it's that, there's some beautiful quote about self-care is living the best life possible. And so when we can stop thinking of self-care as manicures and massages, and like, how do I infuse the most joy into my existence? That's when it gets interesting.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I could seriously just talk to you all day, because I just like,
I feel like we could.
it's just ridiculous and amazing. But I know everyone who's watching this will have a time frame, so I will keep time. So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. But I would love for everyone to know, what services do you provide, and where can they find you?
Yeah, well, my website is down at the moment, God bless it. So the best thing to do is probably to jump on over to Facebook or Instagram, the Zim Zum Motherhood, or I have a beautiful Facebook group, Zim Zum Motherhood, which you are very welcome to come and join us in our community. And there's lots of kind of different things that we're doing, but one of the things I'm most excited about at the moment is the Zim Zum self-care check-in. So we have a beautiful questionnaire for people to fill in, and it's everything from how do you feel in the morning to what was your favourite book when you were a kid. And then I'll come back with kind of a taking your temperature of where you're up to with your self-care at the moment, and then giving you some suggestions and the kind of stuff that we've been talking about today, everything from here's an affirmation to try every time you drink water through the day, to, oh, you used to love dancing. Have you thought about doing that once a week? You know, infuse some joy there, or just kind of, you know, I love to make it easy, to be like, you're going to catch the bus to work every day. How about listening to a TED talk? Or how about this book, I think is just going to spark your curiosity. Pop that in your ears rather than scanning Facebook every day. So I'm loving doing that for women, and a few couples I've done that for as well, so that they can kind of honour each other's thing. But that's where you can find me, and I would love to do that for your ladies as well.
Amazing, Claire. Thank you so much. So, anyone who is listening, I'll pop the links so you can connect with Claire and to see and work with her in whatever way you're called to. So thank you, Claire. You are such an amazing woman who is so aligned. I'm so aligned with what you do as well, and I have loved connecting with you. So thank you so much for being present and sharing so much beautiful wisdom.
Thank you, Tammie. It has been so fun just to riff on life, and like you said, I feel we could sit here very much for hours, and look forward to doing that as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, everyone, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. And make sure to like a Facebook page, Earth Radiance, and the Zim Zum Motherhood, and we can connect. In if you have any questions, please send me a message or Claire, and we were happy to discuss this further. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. That was delicious.